my hot take is that Orca could be $100 billion biotech. It has to be a foundry model, but I think it has to go even further. It has to be a healthcare services on top of that. Think about like a traditional biotech is basically like securitized, IP of composition of matter,
Yeah.
right? Like pharma buying their pipeline. And so there's an upper bound to how much pharma can pay, right? Full stop. So there we're bounded. And it turns out pharma can pay a lot, so you can make a lot of money. But until you commercialize your drug, you're not going to be able to do that. And then you can build a really large company upon that. A few have gone the distance, but I wouldn't say massively. But I think punching through toward that massive sort of like snowflake, Uber sort of tech company, Halo type scale, I think you're probably going to need to take on risk in the outcomes of your patients. And at some point, all great companies have scale at the consumer level, right? And so I think that massiveness is going to require basically directly having a relationship with a patient, which means it's a services company just as much as it is a biotherapy company. Yep. And I think the interesting part about these cell therapies like Orca is that it can do that, right? If it can manufacture a bone marrow transplant for everybody in need of one, and they uniquely can do that, there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to get there. And I think Ivan's the kind of person who plans to.
And I think the other key, to that is these are therapies that are actually curative, right? I mean, if you look at the history of cancer therapy, basically you're just trying to buy time, right, as much as you can. And I think increasingly, it's viewed that that's untrue for cell therapy, that they can really be a truly curative therapy. And, we have a piece up on the website that we wrote up when the Orca investment was announced that I'd encourage listeners to read. And one of the things that we mentioned in there is the possibility of Orca being part of a cure for HIV. And I think we really believe that. And, if you underwrite to that, I mean, the impact that would have, on patient care, it's inestimable, right? I mean, that's generational. And I think, you could highlight Lyell as another example, where if you see Lyell as a successor to Kite and Juno, which each sold for $10 billion just for blood cancers, which are only 10% of cancers, right? I mean, naturally, Lyell can be worth $100 billion. And I think it makes perfect sense, right? I mean, if you're going to cure people who have, solid tumor cancers, if you're going to cure people who have HIV, how is that not just unbelievable in the impact that it's having on